And it's always a pleasure to have you in such meetings, because we know how passionately you feel about some of the very critical problems of the country which we are facing today. Professor Ghatak, the chairman of the local chapter, the other distinguished speakers, and all those who have joined this webinar. And they are going to listen to our very eminent speakers. You know, we had this green revolution, which was supported by the Nobel laureate Dr. Norman Borlaug, along with Professor Swaminathan and others. It was a great success. It pulled us out of a very serious issue of food shortage. Later on, Dr. Swaminathan said that the green revolution must become the evergreen revolution. And today, I think everybody agrees that we have, after evergreen revolution, we have gene revolution. And in this context, Dr. Norman Borlaug, he was in India and he was addressing a group of agronomists and other scientists. And he said, world peace will not be built on an empty stomachs and human misery. Deny farmers access to modern technology and the world will be doomed. Not from environmental degradation, as some would have us to believe, but from starvation and social and political chaos. Unquote. So we know that how passionately and with so much dedication Dr. Norman Borlaug felt about this whole issue of hunger, starvation, and today we call it all malnutrition. NASI, as Pratibhaji said, is one of the oldest science academies of the country, established in 1930 by a very eminent scientist, Dr. Meghnad Saha. He gave us the mandate, science and society. And since then, after being established in 1930, and maybe after 10 years, last 20 years rather, NASI has been following this program all over the country, and it has tried to connect with the national programs like Swachh Bharat, Swasth Bharat, Smriddha Bharat, all these. So NASI programs are very well connected with these. When the Honorable Prime Minister announced that the month of September 2020 is going to be Poshan Mah, NASI immediately responded and started organizing joint webinars, one-day meetings like that, for creating awareness, sensitization of the population, and also bringing out through various lectures the importance of science and technology interventions in combating the malnutrition condition. We have in NASI initiated several programs on Poshan. One was along with the Indian National Science Academy, INSA. That was one of the first program, jointly NASI and INSA. Then we had a program with DBT and in NASI. And then we have also written to all the 20 local chapters of NASI, which have started organizing programs on Poshan, that is malnutrition and importance of balanced nutrition and nutritive diet. All the local chapters now are trying to organize such lecture series so that there is more and more awareness created at every strata of the society. We are particularly very concerned about that whole issue that India still has the highest number of undernourished population. We have 800 million people, one in every 4 person in the world. Then the children, the whole situation of wasted children, stunted children, low birth weight babies, then anemic women, and lactating women who are completely malnourished, and women in rural areas especially. So NASI initially started a program with the National Institute of Nutrition Hyderabad, and that program was in the region of Allahabad, in the few villages surrounding Allahabad, and it was a very successful program. And a model was developed which could be replicated in other parts of the country. Today, we are aware that the Ministry of Women and Child Development, the Department of Biotechnology, Department of Science and Technology, ICMR, ICAR, they are all engaged in some form or the other who, how to score, how to distribute, how to make sure that the macro and micronutrient deficiencies can be met, especially the macro when we talk, that is the fiber and the carbohydrates. Micro means all the vitamins A, B, C, D, and so on. All these deficiencies, how can they be met? So the programs of different scientific agencies are commendable, and government is making concerted effort to address this issue. But the problem is so large that it is not easy to handle it in just one day. What we need is a much bigger coverage of many of these programs. Like we had the Anganwadi program, the ICDS program, all these have to be midday meal program. These have to be strengthened and expanded all over the country. We need to grow more crops. Certainly the food production is very high, more than 291 to 295 million tons. This year's food production is outstanding. What we need to do is not only grow more crops and grow more food, but enrich them with the micronutrients. That is the most important issue. I want to emphasize on that, that enriching these food crops with micronutrients, the biofortification of many of the important crops, also diversification of the bread basket. Today, it has become absolutely essential that we don't stick on to just one program or one food item. We take sorghum, or we take wheat or rice. No, we have to diversify the food basket with fruits, vegetables, different types of carbohydrates, fibers, all these sugars, fats, or everything has to be taken in a balanced diet. And then today, what we have realized that in addition to the crop productivity, we have also to focus our attention on horticulture crops. In fact, many of our webinars, they have already addressed this issue, that how to go about with having more horticulture crops. And the suggestions have been that we should have nutri gardens in rural areas, or nutrition gardens in rural areas. And we'll have to teach the women farmers, the rural women, the farmers, everybody, whatever small land they have, they should start, or even a small vegetable garden in their own house. They should start this nutri garden concept. We have seen that the academies, in particular, I have noticed that the women scientists, NGOs, universities, agriculture universities, Krishi Vigyan Kendras, they all have a pivotal role in this whole endeavor. They have to, if we have to reduce the malnutrition, we have to introduce new concepts in rural areas, especially with the farmers and the farm women. Why I say farm women? Because 60% of the farming work is being performed by the women and the female workers. Also, this one point which we need to remember is that India is extremely rich in bioresources. We are bestowed with the highest quality of biodiversity, one of the highest quality in the world. We have the best of microbes, we have the best of plants, the animal species. All these are very, very important species we have in the country. And therefore, we have to make use of these bioresources along with the crop productivity. Then only a balanced nutrition diet can be provided to everybody. Today, I think we have, and everybody would agree with me, that we have a very balanced ecosystem in the country, which can really nurture some of these new concepts of having nutrition garden or nutri gardens or increasing the horticulture productivity, or even to go to the extent of biofortification, means many of the crops which can be biofortified and the micronutrient deficiency can be reduced to a great extent. NASI's efforts are really a drop in the ocean because we still have a long way to go, and the problem is really very, very serious. And it can't be just handled by one agency or one or two government agencies. Also, one area which I want to especially mention when we are talking about the nutrition is fisheries. We have a long coastline and we can have so many varieties of fishes in the country, and fishes can be one of the items which can be introduced in the diversification of bread basket. We need to do the nutritional enhancement and enrichment of the food crops. As I have said, biofortification is important, and we have to also bring awareness in the coastal population about the marine wealth which we have, both the planktons and the zooplanktons, which can be utilized for making nutraceuticals. And again, I say that in combating malnutrition, nutraceuticals will have a very important role to play in the near future. They can give just 2 spoons of something like what was developed, sort of a Chyawanprash. 2 spoons of that gives you vitamin C, the other micronutrients, plus fiber, plus and we can really introduce this among children. It's not a very expensive item because it is produced from our own resources. Like that, I think that uh, I want to, in the end, emphasize the issue that academies can play a very important role in uh, undertaking these responsibilities to spread the message amongst our population how important it is to give a balanced nutritive diet to our population. Otherwise, and I don't want to be very pessimistic, but at the same time, if you don't do that, then we are going to have a whole range of problems in the future children. Children of India will be wasted, stunted, and there'll be low birth weight babies, and we are heading towards a mediocrity. This if the child is low birth weight, obviously the brain development also will not be sufficient. So we first I want to stop here, but I last point I want to make here, what is very important is that we have sufficient food grains, but we have to also introduce the concept of food distribution and also storage facilities, transportation facilities, how this best high quality food, the micronutrient enriched food can reach our poor children. That is the whole issue. So uh, we have the great plant kingdom, which is the treasure house of nutrition, energy, health, basic requirements of food. And the traditional plant breeding methods, they have enabled the scientists to modify the genes amongst the sexually important plants. We have today a very simple method of marker assisted breeding, where we are trying to bring in better quality of crops. So, and we have already seen in the country that there are a very large number of such crops, like potato has been done, tomato here in the Delhi National Institute of Plant Genome Research, like rice. We have done a lot of work on the rice genome sequencing and take out the genes which have the best quality from the viewpoint of nutrition. So scientists have already done a fairly good amount of work in India. But what is needed is to create awareness, do sensitization amongst the population. I want to conclude with what the Gautam Buddha said: of all diseases, hunger is the greatest. There is no other treasure equal to that of rice. In our daily prayers, the human beings say, "Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us for all our trespasses." Thank you. And once again, Dr. Chidambaram, on behalf of NASI, on my own behalf, I want to welcome you once again. And we are extremely happy that you have been able to join. And Pratibhaji, thank you for organizing such a beautiful webinar.
Thank you, ma'am. It's always a pleasure to hear you and learn from you. And there are these beautiful ideas that I think every household, every school, every institution, even in urban areas, must adopt. And needless to say, women have a very strong role to play in all this. With this, Dr. Pandey has already welcomed Dr. Chidambaram. All of us feel personally connected to him. I want to formally introduce him and extend a warm welcome, though he needs no introduction at all. Dr. Chidambaram was till recently the principal scientific advisor to the Government of India. And the chairman of Scientific Advisory Committee to the Cabinet till 2018. He's presently the DE Homi Bhabha Professor at BARC. His main research interests have been in crystallography and high-pressure physics, and these now include artificial intelligence and cybersecurity. It is such a pleasure, sir, to discuss these new areas and the manifest applications that you're working on. And I hope on a later day you will come to give us a longer talk, and it'll be on these areas. Dr. Chidambaram, as we all know, has played a leading role in design and execution of the peaceful nuclear explosion experiment at Pokhran in 1974. He also led the DAE team, which designed the nuclear devices and carried out the tests in 1998 in cooperation with DRDO. He has made stellar contributions to many aspects of our nuclear technology, and he has led many organizations. He's been director of BARC, chairman Atomic Energy Commission, commission of Board of Governors of International Atomic Energy Agency, and also member of Space Commission. Dr. Chidambaram is known for his dynamism, and he's a great mentor, as all of us have already said. For his distinguished services, he was awarded the Padma Vibhushan in 1999, amongst numerous other awards that he has to his credit. We are privileged that today he is with us as we inaugurate a webinar series. Though these series on science and society have been going on, we hope that we will have them at in a more structured way and more frequent. And Dr. Chidambaram, a great personal thank you for always being there as a mentor. And I know that your programs for rural India, bringing urban facilities to those, have been very close to your heart. And so is the theme of today's seminar. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Pratibha Jolly. Thank both you and Dr. Manju Sharma for your kind words. Firstly, I must congratulate Dr. Pratibha Jolly and Dr. Manju Sharma for organizing this seminar and for this excellent initiative, which is part of the Poshan Awareness program. Poshan Awareness, about which Dr. Manju Sharma gave such an excellent introduction. Dr. Pratibha Jali explained to me that Poshan includes both nutrition and nourishment. And of course, good nutrition is one of the keys to a healthy life. You can improve your health by keeping a balanced diet. You should eat foods that contain vitamins and minerals and fruits and vegetables and so on. And nourishment is defined as the food necessary for growth, health, and good condition. But this food must have the maximum possible nutrients and must also be preserved without spoilage before consumption. And as Dr. Manju Sharma mentioned, malnourishment must be avoided in all age groups, of course, but particularly in small children to allow full brain development and in expectant mothers. A lot of food in India is lost through spoilage. And on the one hand, you want enough food, you want enough nutritious food, but just increasing productivity without having a good storage system, cold storage system, may actually lead to a crash in prices, and the farmer might get less income. And also, there's a question of marketing, and there are perishables. In one market, the prices might have crashed, but in the neighboring market, 100 kilometers away, prices are high. So this is what requires cryo transfer. And the Ramanna Center for Advanced Technology has developed this cryo transfer method using liquid nitrogen, for which apparently is a plenty of excess of liquid nitrogen in this country, to move from one market to another market where the prices are depressed. So we should have both storage, we should have cryo transfer, and I am sure we need food processing, because the value addition that takes place to food by processing not going to the farmers or to the people in rural countries. Now, coming to nuclear energy is generally seen as an important method for producing electricity, and it will become increasingly important in the future as fossil fuel depletes in the world and global warming caused by greenhouse gases increase. But nuclear technology is not nuclear electricity and nuclear weapons, but impacts positively, often invisibly, almost every aspect of social and industrial activity. You tell me any activity and I will tell you where nuclear enters it in one way. You have a leakage in a dam, best way is to put some radioactive traces to find out where the leakage is. You have a thyroid problem, I'll give you a glass of water containing radioactive iodine and take a thyroid scan and so on. And of course, this includes food and nutrition. Nuclear technology contributes directly or indirectly, as Dr. Avinash Pandey referred to most of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals defined by the United Nations in 2015. The aim was to achieve it by 2030, but this COVID pandemic has led to a bit of a setback. And those SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, include no hunger, affordable health care, and so on. In this context, I must mention about a recent book actually published this year, which has come out, written by two of my former colleagues, Dr. D.V. Gopinath and Dr. N. Ramamurthy, titled Ionizing Radiation and Mankind. Coincidentally, synergizes very well with the webinar that you have organized here today. The radioactive isotopes created in nuclear reactors and separated in radiochemistry labs for medical, industrial, and other applications are many. Ionizing radiation from these radioisotopes find extensive use in medical therapeutics and diagnostics, from killing of cancer cells to, as I mentioned, diagnosing thyroid or other problems, or even your lung problem. Radiation sterilization of medical products has emerged as an important technique with several advantages over other methods like autoclaving and ethylene oxide, because this is the only technique where sterilization is done after packaging. I think you are also thinking of something on the healthcare line. Dr. Pratibha Jolly, the use of these ionizing radiation and radioisotopes for that. Hybridization has usually been employed for improving crop varieties. Radiation mutation by cosmic rays, cosmic ionizing radiation, followed by selection, has also created new agricultural varieties for humankind over millennia. Such mutants can also be produced by ionizing radiation with desirable properties like increased productivity, increased resistance to pests, etc. You'll hear more from Dr. Jambhulkar about it. I understand that the International Atomic Energy Agency and the Food and Agriculture Organization database, it has more than 3,000 mutant crop varieties that have been released globally over the last 5 decades. India is, of course, a leader in this field. My feeling is a more an intuitive feeling that radiation mutation may be the answer to mitigate the possible future damage caused by climate change. Genetic modification is another method of improving crop varieties. Professor Deepak Pentel of Delhi University has done some excellent work on GM mustard. And in the United States, GM crops are widely used, particularly in corn, soybean, and cotton. Food preservation using ionizing radiation is another important area. For example, India is able to export mangoes by ships to the United States, our famous Alfonso mangoes, because of the increased life provided by this technique. You can increase the shelf life and also prevent other ways to prevent sprouting and so on. Dr. Avinash Pandey also referred to, it can also be done, the bulk irradiation can be done by electron beams. At Indore, there is a facility which has been made available to the farmers. X-rays can also be used instead of gamma rays as ionizing radiation. It must be clearly understood that radioactivity cannot be induced in foods by treatment with gamma rays, X-ray sources, or electrons, which are used for irradiation. In fact, the wholesomeness of the food increases by these methods. The safety and efficacy of this process has been very well established. All these applications require development of advanced instrumentation. Ionizing radiation is, of course, to be handled with care. And over the years, the necessary knowledge for this has been developed in the Bhabha Atomic Research Center and other organizations around the world. There are two lead speakers in this seminar, a colleague, Dr. Jambhulkar, and a former colleague, Dr. Arun Kumar Sharma. Dr. Jambhulkar will speak on radiation-based mutation breeding, and Dr. Arun Kumar Sharma, by the way, he has also contributed a chapter to a book by Dr. Gopinath and Dr. Ramurthy referred to earlier on radiation technology for food preservation. We are all looking forward to their lectures. I'm also very happy that Dr. Ramamurthy is on this WebEx platform. Dr. Pratibha Jolly, I'm looking forward to a very interesting webinar. Thank you and Jai Hind. I think you must unmute.
Please unmute.
Yes, this is one of those new norms that we mute and unmute all the time and forget sometimes. Thank you so much, Dr. Chidambaram. Thank you, Dr. Manju Sharma. You have laid a wonderful roadmap, and in fact, it's very, very nice to know that nuclear energy is so pervasive, and we need to create a deeper dialogue because science citizenship is important, and it is extremely important for everyone to understand how agriculture is being transformed and can only gain from front-end technologies. With this, I invite Professor Pandey to kindly chair the technical session and introduce the two speakers as we go along. Over to you, Professor Pandey.
Thank you very much. So the next speaker is Professor S.J. Jambhulkar. He is head of mutation breeding section in nuclear agriculture biotechnology division and professor in Homi Bhabha National Institute. His contribution to mutation breeding for genetic improvement of crop plants, especially in mustard and sunflower, is highly acknowledged. He has worked as an expert in International Atomic Energy Agency. He has wide-ranging synergistic contributions that include work on 3 international projects associated with FAO, IAEA. He is recipient of many awards. He is member laureate in the prestigious NAFA IAEA International Award. I invite Professor Jambhulkar for his talk. Professor Jambhulkar, please.
Yeah. Hello, good afternoon, everybody. And first of all, I would like to thank National Academy of Sciences and the organizer, particularly Dr. Pratibha Jolly, for the invitation to deliver a lecture in this very important webinar on the agriculture, food and hunger. I would also like to thank Dr. Chidambaram, because when I joined to this institution, it was my dream to meet him. And since that point onwards to till today, I couldn't meet, and I think this was the day I could meet him, and we changed our heart and found that it's though we know that he is one of the visionary for the development of science and technology in India, but today's personal discussion, it has really impressed me, and rather I energized to work ahead and see forward how best we can help to the government of India in the field of agriculture. My talk is on the radiation technology in agriculture. In agriculture, I tried to put vast information in this, and with the suggestion of Dr. Chidambaram, I could cut some of the slides to fit into the time. But anybody has any doubt or the question, they can contact me. My email is sjj@brc.gov.in. Yeah, all of us, we know Dr. Swaminathan. It is great, his efforts that Green Revolution has taken place in India. And he got a World Food Prize in 1987. It is his efforts that the tremendous increase in the yield potential of the wheat and rice is due to the import of some of the high-yielding varieties which were dwarf. And now it is called as the dwarfing genes, which are responsible for the Green Revolution. And I would say that at present, whatever food we are getting, it is because of that dwarfing genes. But though we have produced up to now near about 292 million tons of the food production. But look into our global hunger index. Maybe since 1990 to 2019, our position is very, very serious. Our present global hunger index of 2019 is 30.3, which is come under the category of the serious. And if you even compare our neighboring countries like Nepal, Bangladesh, or the Pakistan, their situation is very, very good. Now, this is the really point where we should think of in what way we should go on, because our large number of the population is suffering because of the hunger. That classified as a wasting, stunting, and mortality and undernourished people. If you see the 2020 Global Nutrition Report, near about 14.5% of the population is undernourished. And this is again the point of concern that 51.4% women in the reproductive age between 15 to 49 are the anemic. 37.9% children under 5 in India is stunted, and 20.8% suffering from the wasting. And malnourished children, they have the higher risk of the death from the disease like a diarrhea, pneumonia, and the malaria. And therefore, the Poshan Abhiyan launched by the government of India, these are the points where they want to, or the India want to overcome whatever problems of the malnourishment or the undernourishment is going on in the country. Therefore, to overcome all this problem, unless and until we produce a high-yielding varieties, to enhance our production from the existing 292, because in the future, in the 2030, we require near about 355 million tons. In 2050, we require near about 400 million tons. So unless, and the area is shrinking, population is increasing. So unless and until we develop high-yielding varieties, we will not able to meet the demand of the people. Now, another problem is that climate change. With the changing climate, our existing varieties or the crops having the large setback, they are not able to adjust with the changing climate. And therefore, we require to produce a variety which will adjust to the changing climate. And now, as previously Dr. Manju Sharma, Dr. Jolly, Dr. Chidambaram, everybody talked about the nutritional quality of the food. Unless and until we produce a highly nutritious food, then and then we'll be able to meet the demand of the undernourishment, because the large number of the nutritional hunger in India. So obviously there are a large number of the methods of the crop improvement. I'm not going to the details of it. I would like to emphasize the mutation breeding, the use of the nuclear energy, and using the nuclear, how the mutations are induced and how the crop improvement is being taken place in the India, in the world, and the Bhabha Atomic Research Center. I would like to emphasize on that. But why the mutation breeding only? If you talk about some of the points, like if you take any crop, like a wheat, rice, pulses, or the oil seeds, you see the area and the productivity level or the production level. We have come to the saturation level. If you take all varieties and grow in a one row, you will hardly find any difference between the varieties. This indicates that the productivity level of almost all crops coming to the saturation level. And now from this level, if you want to go ahead, so unless and until we produce a variability, then and then there is a possibility to enhance the productivity. Second point is the germplasm erosion. The last 50 or 60 years, we have exhaustively used the germplasm in the breeding program, and we were able to produce the high-yielding varieties. Now, again, from this point, if you want to go ahead, what is the new germplasm? And at the same time, whatever germplasm was there, now most of the lines, it is not available with us. So therefore, due to the loss of this germplasm, there is a great setback in the crossbreeding or the hybridization of the crop improvement program. And therefore, we need to produce the new variability for this. In the existing germplasm or in the varieties, you will find some of the tight linkage, undesirable tight linkage are there between the genes. And that can be only broken through the mutation breeding, through the gamma rays. Again, the challenges, I said that because of the climate change, the rainfall is not regular, the temperature is increasing, and because of this, new diseases and pests are coming. Now, for all these things, as I said, where is the variability? Where is the germplasm? We need to produce. And if you want to produce the new germplasm, the only way is a mutation. The only way is mutation, and there is no option but the nuclear energy will give the solution for this option. As we said, as I said, the mutations is the since from the evolution of the flora and the fauna to the present level of the developing high-yielding varieties, the mutation has helped a lot. For an example, this is just a 2 centimeter. It was like a finger. But when it was mutated in the nature, and when it was crossed within the lines, we have come up to this level, that developing a big corn. And now again, through the breeding program and the selection, ultimately we have reached to this level. So likewise, even in the tomato, in the evolution, if you say it was a small tomato, but because of the mutation only, we could come to this level. So mutation has helped since from the evolution to the development of the high-yielding varieties. This is one of the best example. When there is no option, all the doors are closed in the crop improvement, the only way and the only option is the mutation breeding. This is the disease, rust disease appeared in the Uganda in the year 1999 and called it as the UG99 as a source, as a race of that rust. And it was a threat to the whole world that this disease will spread all over the world, and the wheat crop was under the threat of this disease. Absolutely, there was no question. Absolutely, there was no solution for this. So then, when the mutation breeding started in the 2009, they could isolate a resistant variety. So I want to emphasize here, when the doors are closed, there is no option. The mutation is the only way to overcome the problems. But when, even in the India, when we searched our germplasm, we got some kind of the resistant lines for this disease also. There is one more example I would like to give. This paper has appeared in the Nature Genetics, that whenever you use the mutant into the hybridization, when you take the germplasm and try to cross it, hybridize it, we look for the heterosis. And when we take the near saturated germplasm, there is hardly possibility to get a higher heterosis. But when the mutant are used in the crossing program, in the parents or with the other germplasm, there is a large number of the heterosis in the F1 generation. And in such a large number of the heterosis, you will be able to isolate the best recombinant, which is called as a transgressive segregant, having the higher yield than your parents and the checker varieties. Vietnam is one of the example which I would like to mention here, that in the 1970 to 80, they were the importer of the rice. But when they started the mutation breeding program and develop a high-yielding variety VND 95-20, they could export the rice. This is what the miracle of the mutations I would like to say here, that anything which you want to break and go beyond particular level, the mutation will help them. Now, ultimately, the genes or the germplasm, the dwarfing genes called as SD1 in the rice and RHD1 and 2 in a wheat, these are called as now green revolution genes. And because of these genes, the green revolution occurred. Now here I wanted to say that the production and the productivity of the India and the world has come to the beyond the imagination because of these genes, and we are getting the food. So if I say that mutation has played a role for this, though they were the natural mutations, but as I said, suppose I say we are surviving because of the mutation, yes, I'm not wrong. I'll say that mutation has played the major role for the survival of the human being on this globe. Therefore, we in the Bhabha Atomic Research Center, we work on the mutation breeding. Besides the other program, we majorly work on the plant breeding and genetics, where the mutation breeding is the what we'll say the laser tool we use. But besides that, we work on the insect pest control, food and environmental protection. Dr. Arun Sharma will take care of it. Soil and water management, animal production, and the health. It is impossible to touch all the aspects and make a justice for this symposium. So therefore, I will just give emphasis on the plant breeding and genetic section on the mutation breeding, and I will try to give you some examples what we have done in the Bhabha Atomic Research Center. Our objectives are the development of the varieties which is having the high yield, insect pest and disease resistance, heat and drought tolerance, nutritional enhancement, desirable plant type, and whatever mutant we isolate, we characterize at the genetical, biochemical, and molecular level. This is the way we start our mutation breeding, taking a seed. We can take any plant part. This is the gamma cell where we put a seed for the irradiation. It goes below, exposed with the gamma radiation, and that radiation affects at the cellular level, where the chromosomes and the DNA is sitting. So affects at that level, and ultimately that reflection you will get in the plant. So gamma rays are the all kind of the nuclear energy. It affects at the chromosomal level. You get the different kind of the mutations called as the deletion, duplication, inversion, and translocation. And not only that, it affects at the gene level. It's called as the transition, transversion, and the frame shift mutation. So ultimately, when you irradiate the seed, affects at the chromosomal and gene level, what you get? You get a negative kind of the mutation, so reject it. You get the no mutation, so reject it. And wherever you find a additional character in a otherwise high yielding variety like a high yield, disease resistance, well adapted to the like a situation like a climate change and the better nutrition, we select this and go for the evaluation. So these are the characters. You name any character otherwise. I would say you dream the character, but there are the two criteria. One should have the large M2 population and the standard screening technique. Unless and until you follow this, you will not able to isolate the desirable mutation. If you follow this and you dream any character, you are likely to get the mutation. With this experience, I can say, with our experience, I can say, any kind of the mutations you can. So this is just an example how the variability is generated through the gamma rays or the nuclear energy. Large number of the variability for the leaf, flower color. In seed size, you see the tremendous variability. The seed coat color, rather ours is the BARC is the first institution that we have developed the yellow seed coat mustard in India. Next. The disease resistance. Disease resistance, one of the main aspects of the crop improvement. We have developed the mutant which are responsible for which are resistant for the yellow mosaic virus in the mung bean as well as the black gram. You see the tremendous variability. This particular aspect, it is now with the climate change, pre-harvest sprouting. In any crop in that way, pre-harvest sprouting, its affects, we have developed the mutant which are resistant to the pre-harvest sprouting, like a dwarf and all variability for the various characters. So using this technique, Bhabha Atomic Research Center, we have developed near about 46 high-yielding varieties in the various crops, like 15 varieties in the groundnut, 8 in the mung bean, 5 in the black gram, 5 in tur, pigeon pea, 2 in cowpea, 2 in rice, 1 in jute, 2 in soybean, and 1 in sunflower. And recently this year, we have released 1 variety in the linseed. And all these varieties having the desirable character like a higher yield, earliness, large seed size, resistant to biotic and abiotic stresses, and nutritional quality. I will quickly go through some of the important characters of some of the good varieties which are very popular among the farmers. Next, in the oil seeds, we have developed 23 varieties. And these, we can say that TAG24, TG37, TG38, TBG41 and TG, these are now the ruling variety in the Indian agriculture. The large number of the farmers in the various states, they are cultivating and they are very happy to cultivate our varieties. This is indicated by the production of the breeder seeds. Unless and until we produce a breeder seed which goes in the seed channel of the foundation and certified seed. So though the number of the people in the Bhabha Atomic Research Centers are very less, but we contribute near about 10%, 11% of the breeder seed production of the ground. We also work on the quality improvement through the mutation breeding, that enhanced oleic acid in sunflower, safflower, and groundnut, reduced erucic acid in the brassica, and reduced linolenic acid in the linseed and soybean. You say this, we have released one first variety in the India, TL99, which has 2.36% linolenic acid. Otherwise, linseed has a 50% linolenic acid. And because of that, it is called as a non-edible oil. Because of that, we cannot use as a cooking oil. But that linolenic acid had been reduced to the 2.3%, and we have released that one. And the Indian Council of Agriculture Research has acknowledged that. They put a big news in the paper that now the linseed is under the linseed oil is ready to join the cooking oil category. In the pulses, we have developed near about 20 varieties in the 5 in the black gram, 5 in the pigeon pea, 2 in the cowpea, and 8 in the green gram. These are our varieties. They are the famous varieties, TRM2, that is the powdery mildew resistant varieties, and TMB37. It's very famous variety in the most of the states. Next. This is the in the Maharashtra, the farmer is cultivating TMB37 and he is very happy to see the bumper crop of the TMB37 of the mung bean crop. These are the, after the rice harvest, there is a land lies the fallows. So some of our varieties are doing very well under this condition. In the residual moisture, you can harvest a bumper yield of the black gram and the green gram. TAU1 is a very famous variety in the Maharashtra state. The whatever urban cultivation or the black gram cultivation area is there, this variety covers near about 60 to 70% area of the urban cultivation in the Maharashtra. This is the variety TJT501. If you walk along the state of Madhya Pradesh, large area of the pigeon pea is under our variety called as TJT501. And again, this is an indicator that we contribute near about 8 to 10% the total breeder seed production of the pulses, which includes the mung bean, black gram, and the pigeon. So we work hand in hand with the Indian Council of Agriculture Research, state agriculture universities, state seed, national seed corporation, KVKs, and the NGO and the progressive farmers. And we try to give our extension activities through these all agencies, including the IAA. We are working together. Akruti program is our own program for the extension work of the agriculture. And like this, we want to reach to our society. This is the map which shows that all our varieties, you see from the northeastern hilly region to the Jammu Kashmir to the state of Kerala to the Gujarat and Rajasthan, our varieties has reached, and the farmers and the peoples are getting the benefit of our varieties. And this is how this our popularity appears in the newspaper. So we feel happy. But sometimes somebody writes that you can read this. Dr. Chidambaram is here. So somebody writes the statement like this also that, yeah, next. Not only that, in all over India, near about 350 mutant varieties has been released, and that is under the different agriculture universities and ICR. Next. And all over the world, as Dr. Chidambaram said, near about 3,250 mutant crop varieties have been released. And some of the varieties are very famous among the farmers. It is near about 90 years of the research starting from the 1928 to 2019. And dominating area of the mutation breeding is the Asia, where maximum number of the varieties has been released. Next. Now, it is not only the plant, it is not only the productivity, but we should take care of the plant, soil, and the health of the plant as well as the soil. We have developed a trichoderma mutant, which through the seed treatment, if you grow it, you see the trichoderma treated crop of the chickpea, and this is the control, where the total plant health of the chickpea as well as the soil health can be improved. Next. And this technology has been transferred next to near about 25 companies in the all over India under a different name. This is another point. Unless and until improve our soil health, then there is a possibility to achieve what we say as a sustainable goal or the sustainable productivity. Previous. So we have developed a mutant of the Susbenia rostrata, which is a green manure crop, which in the 55 days, it fixes near about 120 kg nitrogen per hectare. And this is the green manure. So without affecting to the, rather it will improve the soil health. So, and we are ready to share this material to any agriculture universities as well as to the Indian Council of Agriculture Research. And this is the photothermo-insensitive mutant. We can grow throughout the year anytime. Next. Now, in the future, suppose you want to develop a crop, what kind of drought is going to be there. So we should develop a crop which is having the long root length so that it will take a nutrition from the deep root water from the soil. The new disease in the wheat, like yellow rust, we have developed a resistant mutant of that. I mean to say that the development of the disease-resistant variety. This mutant we have developed in the very popular variety called as the HD2967, which is now susceptible for the yellow rust, but we have developed the resistant mutant. Now, physiological level manipulation, it is very important. See, this is one mutant which is having the light green, but though it has a less chlorophyll, but if you compare to the dark green, though the biomass of the dark green is more, but the seed yield of this light green mutant is a very high. So we want to develop the mutations for at the photosynthesis level or the chlorophyll level, which will have the effective sourcing relationship. This is the one dream of yellow revolution. We have developed a dwarfing genes mutant in the mustard, where you see the reproductive stage starts from here. Otherwise, most of the portion, the energy is being wasted. And we have developed a mutant which is having the less than 1 meter height, but the reproductive produce or the seed number is very, very high. They are like a tall varieties. So we have used this mutant in the crossing program and develop a large number of the recombinants which are early. So if you develop a variety which is early, so the per day productivity of that particular variety will be very high. So now we should look for, because of the various factors of the climate change, we should produce a variety which is early, dwarf, but at the same time, which yield potentiality should be very, very high. So that will help us to achieve the target of the higher productivity and production. Next. like a wheat. Now we are searching for the new germplasm or the new dwarfing genes. This should be like a efficient fertilizer use mutant. Means with the less fertilizer, it should give the maximum yield. So we are looking for the mutant in the wheat, which will be the. Now, biofortification of the crop plant. In the same variety, this is the SD2967, which is the control variety. And you see here, we have developed a mutant which is having higher iron, zinc, and the manganese. So likewise, the mutation breeding can help in the biofortification of the crop plant. This already Dr. Our DBT secretary, Manju Sharma, she has said that normal borolog, you cannot build a peaceful world on the empty stomachs and human misery. I agree with that. Next. And Bhabha Atomic Research Center, using the nuclear energy, we are working. This is the photograph of Dr. Homi Bhabha, made up out of the seed or the varieties or the seed which are developed in the Bhabha Atomic Research Center. So therefore, we said the seed for the prosperity, and this is a tribute to our great personality, Homi Bhabha. And thank you very much for the patience listening, and I will be happy to answer any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Jambhulkar. So now we all realize that the development in science has been insular, and scientific development has outpaced the social developments, and because of that, sometimes we here also IUAC, we are known as bomb factory instead of nuclear science center or accelerator. So you rightly pointed out that this connect is to be built and also to be strengthened, and the role of NASI becomes important, and we have to add many such institutions where we have to actually translate whatever we have done in our research arena to the common people, so that they can understand that Bhabha Atomic Center is not only producing bombs, but also they work for poor farmers. And this is really nice that you have covered many of the aspects of radiation technology in agriculture. So
thank you.
We can take some of the questions, but the way this webinar has been structured, we'll have a panel discussion after the talks are over. So I will invite another speaker, Dr. Arun Kumar Sharma, and he will be speaking on radiation processing for value addition, food and agriculture commodities. You all know that we have selected the best people who can give a flavor of what we are doing in the area of agriculture, and also how to handle the issues relating to the farmers and their plight. Dr. Sharma is currently Raja Ramanna Fellow with BARC at Bahadurgarh. He is very near to us from IUAC. At BARC, he has served as Head Food Technology Division. He was also Project Manager, Krushak, Food Irradiation Facility at Lasagaon, near Nasi, and Adjunct Professor Homi Bhabha, National Institute, Mumbai. He has been National Project Coordinator and IAEA, FAO, WHO expert on food irradiation. After superannuation, he joined Food Safety and Standards Authority of India as consultant, where he continues as honorary consultant and expert member. He is a mentor. Most recently, he has been included in the Stanford list featuring top 2% scientists across the world in the area of food science. So I invite Dr. Sharma for his talk on how this radiation processing is adding value to food and agriculture commodities. Dr. Sharma, please.
Thank you, Dr. Pandey, for the kind words of introduction. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, sir. You are.
Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
Please.
At the outset, I would like to thank NASI and IUAC for giving this opportunity to me. It is indeed an honor to be led in this webinar by luminaries like Dr. Chidambaram, Dr. Manju Sharma, Professor Ghatak, and yourself. I think it's a great honor. Well, nearly 30 years ago, if Dr. Chidambaram would remember that, sir, you conducted an exercise at BARC called Vision 2020, where I participated as a young scientist in the discipline of food technology. And little had I imagined at that time that indeed, in 2020, I'll be sharing with you the state of art in this technology. It's really a pleasure and honor. And once again, I thank NASI and IUAC for this opportunity. Let me begin this talk by sharing here. Can you see it now? Hello?
No, not yet.
No, not it.
Not yet. Is it visible now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay, so here the title, Radiation Processing for Value Addition to Food and Agriculture Commodities. And in the background, you see my state, Himachal Pradesh, from where I come from. Now, as already indicated by previous speakers, that we actually need a lot of food, but still we are wasting so much, that even a rich country would not do that. There are several problems of food supply chain. In fact, you can produce enough, but it's very difficult to store food and cater to a large population and a large country. Now, there are several problems in the food supply chain. One is the post-harvest losses, which are essentially due to perishable nature and limited shelf life of food. Also, the post-harvest handling during storage, transport, processing, and distribution is many times inadequate. The second aspect of this entire food supply chain is related to food safety risks. And those risks, one is that coming from the infestation and infection, the natural competitors, the microbes and the insect pests which we have, even the rodents which we have, in this supply chain, which tend to be part of this food that is meant for humans, but it is also food for these living beings. There is also risk of contamination. Even if we take care of infestation and infection, there could be contamination, which is most of the time natural. But recently there has been a possibility of deliberate contamination, which has been also called food bioterrorism. The third aspect is related to trade. Again, in trade, it's very difficult to find markets. And if you find markets, you have to meet quality standards of quality and quality. So these are the issues or the problems which are there in the food supply chain. And we at BRC develop and still, we are working on several aspects of this radiation technology, which is in a way simple to understand. We all know that radiation is a word which is well known, but this is in this technique or this process we use ionizing radiation, as Dr. Chidambaram already emphasized. In food processing, there has been use of visible light, infrared, microwave, ultraviolet, which are non-ionizing. But here, when we are talking of radiation technology, we are talking of ionizing radiations, and those two from specified sources, legally specified sources, and those are gamma rays basically coming from two radioisotopes. One is cesium-137, which gives gamma rays of 0.66 million electron volts, and cobalt-60, which is another source, a radioisotope, which is allowed, legally allowed. It gives you a radiation of energy 1.33 million electron volts. Besides these radioisotopes, of course, I think cesium-137 is actually produced from reprocessing of spent fuel, whereas cobalt-60 is actually produced in reactors by putting cold cobalt-59, and it gets activated to become cobalt-60. So these are the ones which are generated either from reactors or from the spent fuel. The other thing which can be used as a source of radiation are machine sources. These are electrons up to 10 million electron volts can be used, and X-rays, which can be used either as 5 million electron volt or under some conditions 7.5 million. And also doses up to 25 kilo gray are allowed. Gray is a dose which is deposition of 1 joule of energy in 1 kilogram of material. And as already pointed out by Dr. Chidambaram, and none of these exposure to radiation will make food radioactivity. So we should be very clear that this technique or this process does not induce radioactivity in food material. Now, if we talk about the equipment, at the core of this entire process is an irradiation cell. And this irradiation cell is actually, it has the source in the center around which or under which the food is passed. And, the entire cell is actually a shielded area, which is having, a shielding. It's actually reinforced concrete shielding of 1.5 to maybe sometimes 2.5 thick shielding. So this shielding and radiation cell is very, very important. It's kind of heart of the entire food irradiation facility. So in case of radiation plant, we use mainly cobalt-60 sources. Cesium-137 is very rarely used. It is mainly used, though it is good for making portable irradiators, but it is currently used mostly for blood irradiators because cesium having energy of say 0.66 million electron volts allows you to have a lighter shielding. Therefore, you can make portable kind of irradiators with cesium-137. But when you use cobalt-60, it has to be a stationary, nicely shielded irradiator, as you can see here in this picture. Now, this cobalt-60 pencil source put in a rack. This is a rack which could be in several tiers, maybe 2 or 3 tiers, and they contain cobalt-60 pencils, which could vary from say maybe 10 to maybe 100 pencils depending on the source strength. And this source is actually stored underwater. For doing any servicing, this water acts as a shield. In the pool, the water acts as a shield, and the source for any service purpose, source is always under shield, and person with due safety precautions enters the shield for any servicing. For irradiation, remotely this source rack is pulled up, and it comes right in the center around which the commodities move around, and then the dose is delivered based on the time and the source strength. After delivery of the dose, the product is taken out. You can have several types of conveyors. One can have hanging conveyors or slat conveyors or roller conveyors to convey the food inside the irradiation cell. Here below you have the machine sources, which could be simple electron beam, which is directly delivered on the packages of food, or you can have an X-ray converter before delivering the radiation to food. So you can have an X-ray converter and you can convert electron beams into X-rays. And X-rays are, there are some limitations of electron beam because electrons being particulate, there are some issues with penetration. So they can, have a limited penetration, maybe say 4 to 6 inches of thickness. You can overcome these problems of penetration by doing a two-side radiation or by converting electron beams into X-rays. And X-rays are as powerful as gamma rays. You can have bigger carton, bigger chunks of food if you were to irradiate, and you can by using X-rays. Now, once you know what is the process and what is the equipment, what are the technological objectives you can achieve? The first thing, I'll start from the, depending on the dose, from the lowest dose, one can achieve, one can achieve changes in, one can actually arrest the physiological changes. So one can achieve, for example, sprout inhibition or delay ripening or delay senescence of fruits and vegetables. All this can be achieved at much lower doses, less than 1 kilogram. In fact, sometimes you need 50 to 100 gray for achieving, say, sprout inhibition in case of potato and onion. For say mangoes, delay in ripening can happen maybe 500 gray to 1 kilogram. So these are the things at very low dose, one can actually achieve these, arrest these physiological changes. Slightly higher dose, say between 0.5 to 1 kilogram, one can also have disinfestation in various food products. Like it can kill storage insects, it can kill quarantine insect pests. So anything, for most of the applications for grains and grain products, or for, taking care of quarantine pests in, say, fruits and vegetables, dose of 0.5 to 1 kilogram is good enough. In fact, USDA asks you to irradiate at 400 gray for quarantine pests in mangoes, which is fruit fly and stone weevil. Then at higher doses, 5 to 10 kilogram, one can kill parasites, one can achieve killing of most of the pathogens, killing of mold spores, and these processes are called radiorization or radicidation. Selective killing of microorganisms is called radicidation, and equivalent of pasteurization, heat pasteurization, is called radiorization, which can be achieved between 5 to 10 kilograms. And still at at higher doses, maybe around 25 to 40 kilograms, we can achieve complete sterilization in food products. It can kill all life forms in food. For example, if you have to have perfectly sterile products or a astronaut ration or adventure product, these can be achieved by irradiating in 25 to 40 kilograms, and often it is done at very low temperature. Normally, at sub-zero temperatures, this irradiation. What are the benefits? So we can achieve like reducing food losses, ensuring food safety and quality, reducing bioburden. We can manage our supply chains. We can get national and international market access to our food products, as we have got in case of mangoes and pomegranate. Now you can, have different, in fact, you can target the entire product range, as I have told you, different doses by setting conditions and doses. We can have a large product range. You can, have grains and grain products, fruits, primarily top, which is a priority for government, tomato, onion, and potato, other vegetables, including cut vegetables, mushrooms, honey, meat and fish, ambient stable foods, foods for disaster, adventure, for forces, for astronauts. We can also, inactivate insect pests in flowers, cut and loose. One can irradiate cattle and pet feed. We can, this is like value addition to get rid of for example, molds and certain pests, packaging material and containers, food ingredients and additives can be, sterilized, and herbal and Ayurvedic preparations. Many times there are issues with these of bioburden which can be taken care of. The issue which was most, uppermost in the minds of many people is related to the wholesomeness and nutritional adequacy of irradiated. So here I would like to say that this is one process or one technique or one kind of food product which has been tested for food safety in all its all ramifications have been tested. For example, radiological safety, safety of chemical changes, microbiological safety, nutritional adequacy. There have been long-term animal feeding studies done, and finally there have been studies on human volunteers carried out. So, all these, none of these have indicated any adverse effects of, radiation on food products, on the safety or nutritional adequacy of irradiated food. And based on the data which was in, several thousand papers which have been generated on this topic, FAO, IAEA Codex, they examined this entire data and, gave first approvals in 1981, followed by that in 1991 and 1999. These were, declared as perfectly safe even at higher doses, which are like sterilization doses. And following this was Codex Alimentarius Commission, which actually deals with the standards of food products across the world. They have approved this process and technology. IPPC in 2003, that is International Plant Protection Convention, which allowed use of this technology for trade. Then USFDA, USDA APHIS, that is Animal Plant Health Inspection Service in 2003, EFSA, European Food Safety Authority, WTO, GATT, ISO in 2011, and several professional scientific bodies, they have endorsed the safety of this food. So there is no, not even an iota of doubt as to its safety or safety of irradiated food. Now, as far as regulations are concerned, actually initial regulations came in, from the atomic energy side. This was actually atomic energy regulations were amended to include radiation processing as early as 1991. But then there was a major overall done on these regulations, and they were actually named as Atomic Energy Radiation Processing of Food and Allied Products Rules 2012, which allowed radiation processing of different classes of food. So it opened up, rather than fixing it to few commodities like potato, onion, spices, or say wheat and rice. It divide that the entire 7 classes, major classes of food products, they were allowed to be exposed to radiation for value addition. And this was followed by an amendment which was done by Food Safety and Standards Authority of India in 2016. And this again recognized the classes which were advised by under the above regulations, that is atomic energy regulations, and they actually actually cited these regulations and went by whatever was there in Atomic Energy Rules 2012. Thereafter, the plant quarantine regulations were also amended to allow use of this technology for import or export of commodities for quarantine pests. Also, the Ayurvedic herbs and herbal products, Ministry of Ayush gave a direction to allow radiation processing for reducing bioburden herbal products. Now, it's a very environment-friendly process. It prevents use of chemicals, leaves no harmful residues on any food products. In fact, most of the fumigants, they leave harmful residues, which are often cancer-causing. There's no release of toxic effluents from these plants. And radiation processing plants have a very low water and carbon footprint. Also, it's a very effective alternative to halogenated hydrocarbons, which are to be phased out and which should have been phased out by now, but still continue to be used. Also, ethylene oxide, which again leaves harmful residues on food products. And currently, fumigant which is being used is phosphine, which is widely used for stored products. In fact, the use of phosphine results in resistance in insect pests. In fact, 11 species of stored product insects, including rice weevil, in 45 countries have become resistant to phosphine. Also, resistance is quickly acquired from field populations. Irradiation is effective in controlling pests. So it works on, even if it is a resistant to any fumigant, it will irradiate it. Insects do not develop resistance to radiation. So these are, very good features of radiation process. Now, as far as DA is concerned, they set up these two technology demonstration plants. One is this radiation processing plant, Vashi, which is also called Spice Radiator. It was set up in 2000 and which allowed, you know, uh, almost commercial sterilization of all spices and spice products, whole as well as ground spices. Mainly it has been used for export, but it has a lot of potential for improving or value addition to spices which are sold in the domestic market. The other technology demonstration plant was set up in Lasalgaon in 2003, and which was mainly to demonstrate technology for sprout inhibition in onion, garlic, and potato, disinfestation of grains, and this was actually retrofitted for quarantine treatment for export of mangoes to US. In fact, this plant got USDA approval for quarantine treatment. So this is USDA certified facility. Now, after this technology demonstration plants were set up, there were many private entrepreneurs which have come forward. And in fact, there are around 20 private entrepreneurs who have come up and set up their own plants, and they are doing fairly well. Just to throw some light on the cost aspects of food irradiation facilities, there are actually these are some indicative figures which have been derived. We have worked on getting onto these cost indicators. You can see here, for example, these are the capital costs which are involved in setting up radiation facilities. Of course, land cost varies, so we have not included here. Land cost varies from place to place, and this is for three alternatives which are there. One is for gamma radiation plant, which is using cobalt-60 with 500 kilocurie source tank. The second alternative is an electron beam facility, which is just giving 10 million electron volts electron beams. And there is another alternative which has a converter for X-rays. And of course, here you have to use higher power plant, which is 45 kilowatt, so that you can have X-rays of 5 to 7.5 million electron volts. So these three alternatives are there. The major costs are the civil work, which involves irradiation cell and utilities, the source handling system or material handling equipment. In case of VAR60 plants, we need a source handling system, also a pool. Therefore, you will see the cost is little higher compared to a electron beam or electron beam X-ray hybrid plant, where we don't need source hoist and a pool system, so the costs are little less. We need also auxiliary equipment, which is control and instrumentation and laboratory. Cobalt-60, which is required to begin with a 500 kilocurie. This cost is actually a subsidized cost at the Indian currency, Indian value, or the cobalt-60, which you can purchase from Board of Radiation and Isotope Technology. In fact, if you had to buy cobalt outside in international market, it may be 3 times higher. So you can see here the capital cost is around 16 crores for a cobalt 60 plant, 500 kilo fuel, around 22 crores for an electron beam facility. An electron beam and X-ray hybrid facility may be around 30 crores. Now, if we look at the O&M cost, the major cost of O&M is cobalt 60 replenishment, which is for only for cobalt 60 plants, maybe around 69 lakhs. The staff salaries, interest on capitals, cost of utilities, maintenance cost, as you can see here, and depreciation, which you can see here. So total input cost for a cobalt 60 plant will be around, say, 441 lakhs, whereas the same will be 642 lakhs for an electron beam facility and 887 lakhs for a hybrid electron beam and X-ray facility. Now, if we look at, say, the processing cost, which is actually O&M cost divided by yearly throughput. So if you consider yearly throughput, say if a plant is working 7,500 hours per year, at say around 85% plant availability, then around 6 to 7 tons of material can be done, per hour, and the same can be multiplied by 7,500 per year. So this exercise gives you something like, say, if you were to give dose of 1 kilo gray, we end up spending, the processing cost is around 0.87, that is 87 paisa per kilo of the material. In fact, it can be much lower because normally one doesn't use 1 kilo gray. For commodities like onion and potato, you use maybe 100 to 200 gray, or for mangoes maybe around, say, 400 to 500 gray. So you can still bring down these costs, and these are indicative figures. Now, as Dr. Pandey and Dr. Chidambaram also referred to, these are recent reforms which can really boost this technology. And as Finance Minister, actually, she brought out these slides. In fact, I have taken from there the atomic energy related reforms which were announced by Finance Minister, where they opened up atomic energy fields for public-private partnership to use radiation technology, also for setting up of technology development incubation centers, for facilitating entrepreneurs to know more about these technologies, and couple these with the recent farm-related reforms which were announced by government, which are in fact, which are very complementary, which can allow setting up of these facilities and reap the full benefit of this technology. So I feel that doing business using radiation technology is much more easy. It has been made very easy by the government. There are very good indicators. For example, India is the largest domestic producer of commodities. It is also the largest consumer. It has long supply chains, huge domestic market. Also, one thing which is very favorable happened in recent years is related to consumer acceptance. Anywhere where irradiated food has been sold, there has been no adverse reaction from consumers, and we have been putting irradiated mangoes in US market for almost past 13 years, and no adverse comments have been heard from consumer. Similarly, several countries, for example, Mexico is sending its irradiated produce to US, no adverse comments. Australia is sending a lot of its produce after irradiation to New Zealand and China. There has been absolutely no adverse reaction from consumers. So consumers have accepted this technology. It's a proven technology. Expert technical assistance is available from BAE, BRIT. There is a lot of government support, as you saw in the previous slide. There are favorable legislations, and there is always scope for amending if there is a requirement. There is a lot of policy backing happening. So I feel it has been never so easy for doing business using radiation technology. And I would suggest, since Dr. Chidambaram is here and the leading luminaries of science are here and who can convey it to the government, there are some initiatives which are required. The first one is phase out of chemical fumigants from food ecosystem. I think this is very much required because we are still hanging on to the chemical fumigants which are harmful to the environment, also harmful to human health. I don't know how much of these residues we are eating on daily basis. Second is integration of radiation technology with modern storage practices, including cold chain and modern packaging. I think we have to also come out of this jute bag packaging mode and develop hermetically sealed, nice, polylined or polythene packaging materials, which prevent reinfestation and reinfection and even pilferage. So these are the things which we need to do. The other most important thing is promotion of Redura as a symbol of food quality, safety, and security. Many people are confused about this symbol, this Redura symbol that you see here. Many people confuse it with a cautionary symbol, and therefore I think there has to be something done about allaying these fears and promoting this Redura as a symbol of food quality security. So, and lastly, for further reading, as Dr. Chidambaram has already pointed out, this is a book which is, it's a complete compendium on, societal benefits of ionizing radiations. And if you want to read further on my topic, it is in chapter 7. And I would be glad to answer any queries. My email is given here. Anyone who would like to venture into this area. So thank you very much. Thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity for this question. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Dr. Sharma, for your illuminating talk. Now we have come to end, and there is a panel discussion, and I will invite Dr. Pratibha Jolly, Anirban Pathak, and Manoj Saxena to kindly unmute yourself and also show your face and come forward so that we can take few questions very quickly.
Thank you very much, Professor Pandey. This has been a very interesting afternoon. And joining me are Dr. Anirban Pathak, who is at the JP Institute of Information Technology. He comes with a huge research background on quantum information, quantum optics, and cryptography. And recently awarded the O.P. Bhasin Award in Electronics and Information Technology. Also very happy to introduce Dr. Manoj Saxena. He has recently been organizing the NASI mega webinar series with very, very distinguished speakers, the Nobel laureates and all. So both of them need no introduction. And Manoj has also been featured in the IEEE Golden List of Reviewers. So very, carefully they've looked at all the questions that have been streaming in, and there's so many of them. Before I hand over, and I think we'll alternate between on the questions, I must say that our young students and are very, very concerned that while we are talking of the frontiers and the technologies, at the same time we have to look at the urban area where the poor section is not even able to get good quality of food, or there are floods and new technologies cannot be introduced. So food productivity also has those issues very much there, and one has to look at rural upliftment as on the whole. So Dr. Chidambaram, perhaps you would want to comment on them so that we can reassure our young participants here that indeed we have to look at many, and we are looking for solutions coming from them. Over to you, Dr. Chidambaram, sir.
We're not audible, sir.
Sir, we cannot hear you.
Now you are on. Now yes. Okay. Okay. No, no. What I said was we have to worry about both our disadvantaged rural population as well as our urban poor, and these are problems which are related to urbanization. That's why if you look at 17 Sustainable Development Goals, the first thing is no poverty, then no hunger, then good health and well-being, and so on. So the only way is you have to provide them suitable jobs, suitable accommodation, good education for their children. But then, the Human Development Index in India at the moment, the Human Development Index is defined in terms of per capita electricity consumption, the education index, and life expectancy at birth. We are not very high yet. And many years back, I have said that these can be reduced to two. It is per capita electricity production and consumption, and female literacy. I prefer female literacy to adult literacy, which United Nations had used earlier, because wherever the average literacy is lower, the difference between male and female literacy is higher. And one can easily show that female literacy is inversely related to infant mortality and birth rate. Higher the female literacy, lower is the infant mortality and all that. So it is a development process. As India develops, as I'm sure it will develop, these are all problems which will go away. Our per capita electricity consumption has to go up by 5 to 6 times, and our literacy levels has to go up by 100 by 6 by to nearly 100% without gender discrimination. In this growth process, we are going to have problems both in rural and urban areas. But as India develops, as it will, thanks to young people like the guy who asked the question, and we go on to become a developed country and a knowledge economy over a period of time. There is just like there is no silver bullet for the COVID vaccine, there is no silver bullet. There is not going to be an easy solution, but this is the process of development. Pratibha, you must unmute.
Yes, I kept forgetting. Thank you so much, sir. Yes, it's very well said that, India is a work in progress, and we have to, we do hope that our young students will take up the challenges, and technology will have to play a very, very important part, and science citizenship will be so important. Anirban, over to you.
Yes, I'll put some questions which has been asked by students for Dr. Manju Sharma. So they express their concern about the places where there are irregular floods, means how to store the biogenetic foods there, and there are specific questions: how can the biogenetic crops be made affordable, because even the seeds are not affordable enough to the rural farmers, and what measures are taken for expanding the research of the biotechnological labs for increasing the food productivity in India. So these are specifically asked for Dr. Sharma. Ma'am, you may kindly answer.
Ma'am, you have to unmute yourself. Ma'am, you have to unmute yourself.
But host can also do it.
Yeah,
Pratibha, you can do
host
it
can also.
for.
Yeah, maybe Archana
You
ji or
can
Pratibha ji can do
unmute.
it. Yeah. Maybe the ICT group at IUAC can help in this regard. You may unmute Manju Sharma ji. Pratibha ji, you have to unmute yourself.
I have done it. It's
Yeah,
okay?
Yeah, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Fine.
So can you repeat the question, please, Dr. Pathak?
Yes, ma'am. So there are two students express concern about storing food when in places where there are flood. There are frequent flood and how to store food in these places. But there are more specific technical questions like how can biogenetic crops be made affordable? Because even the seeds are not affordable enough to the rural farmers. And second question was, what measures are taken for expanding the reach of the biotechnological labs for increasing the food productivity in India?
Well, none of the biotechnological labs are right now involved in food production. They are only joining hands with ICAR labs. So the biotechnology part, the gene transfer, the gene isolation, identification is being done by the DBT institutions, biotechnology institutions, and the rest of the cropping, field trials, everything is being done by ICAR. Now, your question is, ki, how can we make it cheaper and affordable, isn't it? Now, here the issue is every technology, when it starts, it's never easily affordable. But as we go on expanding the whole area, it will become affordable. And if you see BT cotton, what we have seen in our country has been a great success, because the first 2 years it did not give as much profit, but after 2 years it became so profitable that every farmer wanted the seeds. So because they start growing the seed in their own fields. So every technology takes time to become affordable and economically viable. In the beginning, it's not so easy. But once the farmers start storing the seeds, then it becomes like a bitty cotton. Every farmer had the seed after 2 years. So there was no difficulty, and it became affordable. And it was expanded to 9 states. Is does that answer your question, Dr.
Yes, ma'am. And then there is one more question from Punita Bharma. She asked that is there any plan to introduce a course in this direction, a focused direction that where radiation can be used, and any particular course in that direction is planned or already introduced in any place?
I think Dr. Chidambaram can answer this question about the radiation thing. He will be able to know it more.
That in all courses, there is a certain part which relates to radiation that I know, because radiation includes X-rays, electrons, as well as coming from radioactive sources. Most courses in physics and also engineering and chemistry, I think, do include some portions on radiation. But of course, there are some universities who give a more specialized courses on this. One will have to look them up. Who are all those? Wherever there's work going on using accelerators, in those universities, there are courses or electives which tell them about. Would you like to add anything to that? Would you like to add to it?
Yeah. This is, I don't know the question. What was the question?
No, on radiation.
Yeah, particularly in the agriculture, in almost all agriculture universities and institution, those who opt for the plant breeding and genetics, they do have the mutation breeding as one of the course, and there they teach all about the radiation, radioisotopes, and their utility in the agriculture. So that is regularly being taught in the most of the agriculture.
Yeah. So, Manoj, would you like to ask the next question, please?
Sure. The next question, I'll be taking it up with Dr. Sanjay Jambhulkar. There are two parts. The first one is that radiation effect on food grains may affect the humans, but the mutation technique offers a lot of advantages to agriculture. So, what kind of biosafety measures should be taken into account while using such radiation techniques in the agriculture part?
Yeah, very good question. First of all, let me clear this. Once we expose,
No, sir, you're not audible.
We could hear you initially.
yeah, fine.
Yeah.
Now it's okay. Yeah, it's a very good question. This is generally being asked over the audience wherever we go. The simple answer for this is, once we expose the seed for the irradiation, either gamma rays, X-rays, or any kind of the rays, radioactive wave, it is like a tube light in the house. Okay, once the rays comes, okay, but there is no high energy for the what we get the light in the house. In the gamma cell, they are the high energy waves. But once this energy is deposited in the seed and the changes occurred in the DNA level or the chromosomal level, that is the end of it. Okay? Actually, there is no radioactive source in the seed. Only that is the deposition of the energy in the seed. And after that, it is as good as the normal grain. So one should not worry about when the seeds are exposed to the radiations and the varieties are developed out of that. It is as good as the normal seed, and one should not think about the harmful effect of that particular seed on the human. That is very safe to eat, very safe to sow also, and the handling also.
Then you stabilize the mutation in further generation.
Yeah, because as I told the procedure, once you grow the irradiated seed, it has to go to the several generations for the stabilization. That is also as good as a normal plant. This procedure of the mutation is taking place in the nature, but the frequency of that is very, very less. Say 1 in 10 lakhs or 1 in 1 lakh. What we are doing, we are enhancing the frequency. The mutations are also occurring within us. Every flora and fauna is undergoing the mutations. Okay, the only thing is through the radiations we are enhancing the frequency of that, which is ultimately a stable and the safe for all purposes. You should not worry about.
Fine, sir. So there is a second part of the question also.
Yeah.
Whether some climate resilient crop varieties such as heat or drought tolerant have been developed at BARC using mutation breeding techniques.
Yeah. I have given a list of the varieties. I have not got into the details of, but I will give a very good example of the TAG24, Trombay Akola Groundnut 24. This was developed for the cultivation in the summer season with a very less amount of the irrigation. This is a drought tolerant variety, and with the 1 or 2 irrigation, it gives the bumper yield. So likewise, I have given the example. Suppose you want to develop a variety or the genotype, which should have the drought or the heat tolerance. What are the criteria? And through the mutation, yes, it is possible to develop all this. And the TAG24 is one of the best example of the Bhabha Atomic Research Center, on which we are banking on, and we have given the large number of the demonstration all over the country, and now it has become a national check, and that variety is dedicated to the country by our
Okay.
Prime Minister, ex-Prime Minister. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Over to you, Pratibha.
Once again, you need to unmute.
Over to you,
I think
Pratibha.
I get muted by the tech team, though I'm not. So, though it's 5 o'clock, I'm with the expert panelists, be willing to take one more round of questions, if you do not mind. Yes. So, Anirban, maybe you can go for the next question.
Yes, there is a very interesting question for Dr. Chidambaram. The question is connecting things beyond what we discussed today, and the student has asked that what is the temperature at which this cryo transfer mechanism works, and if it is at liquid nitrogen temperature, can it be useful for developing this vaccine transfer chain? So when COVID vaccine come, will it be useful, this cryo transfer mechanism?
What is the second part of the question? What is the one was the liquid nitrogen? That is the liquid nitrogen temperature.
Is it the cryo transfer facility works in liquid nitrogen temperature or not?
Liquid nitrogen temperature.
And is it useful as a support system for vaccine transfer?
Yes, I think you are perfectly right. It is perfectly good for vaccine transfer. In fact, this is one of the possible uses which is being contemplated. What is the temperature you need? -100? I don't remember for the vaccine.
Yeah, something
like that. But it is well within the capability of this liquid nitrogen cryo transfer system.
Yeah. Manoj?
Yeah, I'll take up the next question. It is to Dr. Sanjay Jambhulkar. Is BARC doing any work towards induction of mutation in medicinal or aromatic plants for improvement?
Yeah. Again, this is a very good question. Recently, we had given a project to the CIMAP, Central Institute of Medicinal and Aromatic Plants. We have the what we call as a board of research in the nuclear sciences, and we do give the project to the large number of institutions all over the countries. And by this time, I think more than 200 or 300 projects we might have given to solve their regional problems in the particular crop. And even in the including medicinal and aromatic plants, just now in the last meeting, we have cleared one project on the rose. Okay. And as such, in the CMAP, if you see, they have developed a large number of the mutant varieties through the mutation breeding program. So there is a good scope to go for the mutation breeding in the medicinal and aromatic plants also. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Anybody, is there a quick question?
There is one question for Dr. Kumar Sharma. So, Sharma, the last question is there any biosafety regulations that the storage or every people involved in biotechnological foods or the kind of radiated food we discussed, they have to take and check that these are safety measures have already been taken? Or is there any regulatory body?
Are you asking me?
No, it's for
Dr. Arun Sharma, please.
Arun.
Okay, the question is probably related to the specially developed biotechnological foods. Do they need some special? Actually,
is there any regulation or is there any checklist means that has to be checked? That's the question.
Actually, yeah. For example, recently there was a wheat which is high in anthocyanin. This has been developed by NABI. So NABI has developed this wheat which has high anthocyanin content, and they wanted to put it in the market, wheat and wheat products, and for which they approached FSSAI, Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, for approval, so that they can use this product in market and give it to the consumer. And that was because they carried out adequate safety studies on that. which included, feeding it to animals and showing that there are no adverse effects. This was allowed, this was permitted, so approval was given for this product. Anything which is different from the normal conventional food need to be, approved by Food Safety and Standard Authority of India.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Sharma. There is one question that Anshuman Singh is asking, and I will connect the dot with what you had said earlier. But first, his question. He's asking, does India have enough infrastructure and resources to ensure that such technology can be used, I'm sure he means across the country, and resultant food products can be made available to the common farmers? So I think this is what is a huge concern for everyone. Earlier in your talk, you said that when you were a young scientist, Dr. Chidambaram asked, what is your vision for 2020? So I'm going to go around the whole panel. And I know there's no simple answer, but I would therefore, connecting the dot into the future, ask by 2030, where do you think India would be in dissemination or diffusion of these technologies? And I begin with Dr. Manju Sharma, and then let us go around the panel, and that would be a nice high point of hope and aspiration for young students to end the seminar on. So Dr. Sharma, Manju Sharma ma'am, please let us know what do you predict will be the time when we will actually move towards a developed, technologically advanced country reaching out to all our population.
Yeah, we are already making this concerted effort. And if you see the Indian Council of Agriculture Research, it's one of the finest infrastructure we have in the world today, which can disseminate the new technologies and the advantages of the new technologies. More than 29 agricultural universities, more than 30 research institutions, and 100 Krishi Vigyan Kendras in the village settings. So the Krishi Vigyan Kendras were set up only with this view. We will disseminate the technology and the technological advances to the farming community and also provide them the training. So I am very optimistic that by 2030, India will certainly be a very, very advanced country. And in terms of biotechnological infrastructure, again, today we have created more than 30 to 35 very good institutions, including Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, where we have created the infrastructure, are capable of doing biotechnological research related to agriculture, and it will be able to disseminate the technological advances. The last point is about the academies. Pratibha ji, you know that the academies are going to play a very important role world over in disseminating new technologies, providing training, creating awareness, etc., etc. So I think we are moving towards that, and we shouldn't be pessimistic about it.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Professor Pandey, as IUAC is so much deeply engaged in the same work, I'd like your views on the same question.
We are pioneer in research based on accelerators, and we have got a footprint all over the country where people, the researchers, they come to IIC, they learn technology, and also they are handheld so that they can take it further. So we are into the core of building capacity in the scientists. But as far as the society and the science is connected, we are not into that business. But definitely we are going to set up a small facility of electron accelerator. And I can go back in a different fashion. All the electronics that goes to ISRO, space satellites by which we do remote sensing, we have been contributing to that. So if it comes to electron beam accelerator at our place, we will definitely look at the possibilities, how we can do the researches so that the gap in the knowledge. For example, it was talked about today that neutron sequestration is possible. That nitrogen fixation is there. So how can we go for carbon sequestration in which carbon is captured to help to solve the problem of climate change? So there may be a possibility by way of looking at the gene editing, modification, using the radiation to look at those issues. So this is one aspect, but definitely we are helping the researchers to take up accelerator science in a big way. The second important thing is about the new education policy. Earlier, the system was fragmented to that extent that we were specializing in a narrow area. Now this policy gives a way that we can take credit for some other courses, and this is one such possibility. If suppose we get recognized as multidisciplinary research university in coming days, we can definitely offer some of the courses in which how radiation technology is going to ameliorate conditions of different aspects. It's not only limited to agriculture, but many other things are there which we can take as a offer the courses to the people. So that is a possibility which can be further explored. Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Pandey. And certainly institutions such as yours will play a very big role in diffusion of knowledge to common citizen. So I think everybody's case is that we have to build a strong science citizenship based on, so that people can on evidence base decide that the future of the country lies in introduction of high technologies. Dr. Chidambaram, sir, your prediction for 2030, going from 2020.
2030 is only one milestone. See, India is a very interesting country to take the science and technology system. Even though we are economically developing, parts of the science and technology system are very highly developed. That includes nuclear and space, and parts of almost everything, including agriculture and all that. But as I mentioned before, it all boils down to the Human Development Index. And unfortunately, India is not very high in terms of the Human Development Index. Somebody also showed a slide in terms of the hunger interest. As I mentioned before, I have always been defining the Human Development Index in terms of two parameters. One of them is, of course, per capita electricity consumption. And if I have plotted Human Development Index against per capita electricity consumption, which of course I have to make it a logarithmic scale so that the developing countries don't disappear near the origin, so I make it a linear scale. It's an S-shaped curve. And it is very clear from that curve, per capita electricity consumption in India must go by at least 6 times before India can become a developed country in the fullest sense of the term. And in my opinion, it will be somewhere around 2050 that India will become a fully developed country, and also what I call a knowledge economy, with the ability to generate new knowledge and with the ability to appropriate knowledge developed across the world. See, that is what we want to become. So starting will, I'm sure, well before that, all these other parameters like no hunger, no poverty, these will all be eliminated.
Thank you, sir. Jambhulkar, sir, your quick comments on the same issue. So you're muted.
Yeah. As I said in my lecture that with the changing climate, Indian agriculture is likely to face a lot of problems in terms of the drought, heat, new diseases. And in the germplasm, our store is very, very less to face this problem. to fish out the particular germplasm, use in the crossing program, and develop a high-yielding variety which will be resilient to the changing climate, that probability looks less to me, as our germplasm is exhausted. And therefore, induced mutation or the mutation breeding should be initiated by each and every institution in the country to solve their regional problem and to solve the national problem, which here I would like to emphasize it. And part of it we are doing through our Board of Research in the Nuclear Agriculture, to giving the specific project on the specific crop to solve their regional problems. And large number of the variability is being generated in the most of the crops. So I think mutation breeding has a hope. The advanced biotechnological aspect of the same, it has come as a CRISPR-Cas technology. That is nothing but the mutation. That is nothing but the mutation. But that technology is not feasible to the each and every lab in India. So therefore, our hardcore mutation breeding is going to play an important role in Indian agriculture in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And we are hopeful that this will diffuse rather fast, and we will be on the exponential curve even on this.
Yes.
Dr. Arun Sharma, sir?
Yeah. Actually, I feel that producing food is going to be more and more expensive in future because of the large agricultural inputs and availability of water. Therefore, I think India should strive very hard to save every grain that it produces. And there is need to have full food security and food safety for every citizen, every consumer. And therefore, we should develop this strong system for food preservation, for value addition. And what I see here that, the recent reforms which have been announced by the government, both in our area and other areas, including agricultural reforms, they are steps in the right direction. And I feel that, there is a bright future for all modern technology to chip in and help the country to ensure food safety and security for every citizen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, and all the panelists. But before I hand over to Dr. Paramjit Khurana, Anshuman Singh, your question was really very, takes us into the future. And I hope that in the 30 years that Dr. Chidambaram is giving to the country to be the knowledge economy and most advanced, you will have a big role to play. And all the students who have been listening to this and young scientists will have a very strong role. So please devote yourself to the problems of the country. Now I have my pleasure to introduce Professor Paramjit Khurana. She is General Secretary of NASI and Professor at the Department of Plant Molecular Biology at University of Delhi South Campus. We are so proud of her as a woman scientist. She is a member of all 3 academies and a super achiever. Her seminal has covered, amongst other things, comparative genomics and effective genetic engineering strategies leading to stress tolerance in crop plants and sustaining agriculture under changing climatic conditions, sequencing of chromosome of 11 of rice chromosomes, 5 of tomato, and chloroplast genome of mulberry. So over to you, Professor Khurana. You are the most suited to tell us what should be the way forward and what should we take away from a seminar such as this. And more importantly, what should we do to create science citizenship so that the common man feels encouraged to go look out for better food varieties?
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to congratulate you and Dr. Pandey for this excellent webinar on a topic which covers not only the biological aspects of ionizing radiation, but also a little bit, people usually think of ionizing radiation only with the physical side of it. But I think today this webinar really brought out the biological implications and the biological relevance of ionizing radiations and how it could help in transforming our agriculture. And the best part was the experts which you chose, none other than, of course, Dr. Chidambaram, I would say, the pioneering person in this particular aspect. And I think I really liked when he talked about nutrition and nourishment and how nuclear energy, in fact, is now getting into all aspects of our social life. It is invisibly become so pervasive that it is difficult to think of any aspect of the present day times wherein the radiation technology is not being used. But most of all, I would like to, before I go further, I would miss in my duty if I don't mention that NASI has been very fortunate in organizing this webinar because NASI's mandate is taking science to the society. And it does this with extreme passion and extreme care and other things only because of pioneering experts and guiders like Dr. Manju Sharma. I think this whole exercise of taking science to society, I think she is the torchbearer of NASI. And I think you rightfully mentioned really beats for science and society. I think that really summarizes it beautifully. But what I really liked it when she champions the cause of green revolution, to gene revolution, and how we should diversify by getting into the nutri gardens and others. While she talks of high-end technology, she never misses out on balancing it with the rural background and how the rural folks should be able to get advantage of that. So I think it was a wonderful amalgamation of experts speaking on the comprehensive. We had a very comprehensive discourse on mutation and mutation breeding and its uses, especially in the oilseed crops and the pulses by BARC. And BARC is known for this kind of a effort, not since long. We are aware of this particular thing, but it very nicely brought out the major things here. Even with Dr. Sharma, who's also from BARC, but a food technologist, I think it was a pleasure to hear to him also, because he talked of little bit further than just plant breeding. He talked of how the produce needs to be maintained, how it needs to be distributed, how ionizing radiation, especially the term radicalization. I think that was something new to me, and I really liked it. I think it very nicely sums up the effect of ionization, of how you could use it for food preservation, and the delivery chain, the supply chain. Normally when we talk of science, we leave out the logistics. But I think in his talk, he really very nicely covered how ionization is given, how the supply chain is to be maintained, and the Redura index. It is like the silk mark and the other marks which you have. So I think for food technology, which has been exposed to radiation. I'm personally, during the entire webinar, I was thinking that there was a time when people were scared of radiation, really scared, that because radiations are known to create genetic mutants, right? And even till today, we know. But I think ionizing radiations have come a long way from being a double-edged sword. It is you having a very sharp tool in your hand, and if you can modulate its efficacy, that you can reduce it. Now you cannot send any food from one country to the other country until and unless it has been radiated. So I think that speaks tremendous of how you can manipulate and optimize the use of a technology safely. I think that was the high point of the whole discussion, I would say, because this indicated that this is a evidence-based adaptation of technology based on scientific and technological advancements. So I would really, I'm no one to summarize what everyone has said, but I think it was a wonderful experience having all the experts from these different backgrounds. And I was looking, I thought it would be a physical, more of a physical sciences webinar, and I don't fit in. But then I realized, no, it was a physical aspect which is impacting biological sciences tremendously. And with the coming SDG goals and other things, I think it was a very good mixture of the two together. So I would want to take more of your time, but yes, I would like to thank all the speakers and the participants and our panelists who have done extremely well, great job as well, because none of them is a biologist. I can vouch for that because I know all the three of them, but they did a very good job and crossing it up otherwise also. So I look forward to more such interfacing things, like Dr. Pandey was mentioning that this Inter-University Accelerator Center could be a multi-institutional university. So that thing was really clicking in my mind that yes, we need more of such interdisciplinary approaches and ideas and institutes where people from different streams can come together and share their ideas and see what effect it will have on the others. Maybe the time is come that we should start looking forward in this particular direction. And I'm sure in the coming years, we would definitely have that. Whether we are using the supply chains for COVID vaccine transfer or otherwise, I'm very optimistic that we will get through this as well. Thank you so much for organizing this entire webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Khurana, and you have very nicely summed it up. And before we just sign off, I'd like to acknowledge the tremendous support provided by IUAC team, Dr. B.K. Sahu, Ugramohan, and Abhishek Kumar, and all of us just got together and we said we can do it. And thank you, Professor Pandey, because it's just over a cup of tea or coffee that such programs do get conceptualized. And Dr. Chidambaram and Dr. Manju Sharma, you are truly mentors and great friends. So one pick up the phone and very quickly have a chat and design the program. And I must say, Dr. Chidambaram has already given me the next task, and we are already on our way for designing the next. So I'm sure that this is not one-off and it is a series. That said, thank you very much to NASI for the support, to Neeraj Kumar, Dr. Neeraj Kumar, always there, a phone call away, and Dr. Archana Pandey, thank you so much. Reaching out to the whole country, and by now, we can reach anywhere in the world through these webinars. A whole lot of us can very quickly come together and put together a program that I hope will be viewed many, many times in an asynchronous manner, because these recordings are now available to the large population to use in whichever way they want, and as part of online education, for personal enrichment, and for others as we build science and society programs. So I would like to sign off on behalf of everybody and thanking President Delhi Chapter of NASI, Professor Ghatak, and sir, we all have a big task, and which would be to also design a course as young people want, which is for science and society, but touch the controversial topics as well, such as how do we reach the last man, how do we overcome the social obvious biases, and how do we become a knowledge society. Thank you everyone for watching this program. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. So you can leave the meeting now. Thank you.